Sorry this came as late as it did. This was originally recorded off of a knockoff GoPro during Sword Night Bootcamp 2024 in New Vegas. It was a particularly cold and windy day in Las Vegas, so the audio quality is not great. Regardless, the content that Warlords, Roark, and Nip taught us is still useful information, so I hope you enjoy.
I really like it because, from my perspective, it's a glass cannon build. Yeah. Right? Like, it's a lot of fun. You have a lot of shot options you don't necessarily get. But it is, you have to be a lot more aware of range control.
So let's just go through the class and just kind of like figure out, give your name, what's your primary game, because I'm sure there might be some deck people or bell people, and then like why you want to learn punch, or like is punch like your main style, and what do you want to take away from this class? Mo? Wisteria? Wisteria.
Like the flower.
Yeah. I'm just here because the strap feels cool.
Whoa!
Yeah, I'm here to make fun of him. No,
Do you primarily use a small punch, or are you branching out?
I don't believe in medium.
Oh. Go fuck yourself. Alright. Roark would be good. All that work is a tiny fucking thing.
Yeah, man.
Zen, I do amplitude and bell. I primarily do like flow punch shield, so I do.
Are you looking for anything in particular?
Yeah, a lot of my
trippy. I only play amp guard. That's all we have. I started with a small punch, and I just recently moved to a medium.
You're winning a lot more?
I'm fat, so I got to overcompensate.
So am I.
Yeah. So, like that little tiny
fat people together.
Little tiny thing, and
Monkey's fatter than both of y'all.
Is he 260 pounds?
Yeah, actually.
Okay, cool.
I wouldn't want that. So, I'm from Alaska, so we don't really have a lot of us use punch shields, like center grips. It's kind of the new style of things. Like we saw videos of some using it. We're like, yeah, we're gonna do that. And I just And trust me, the spin shots are getting worse now. Everyone's trying to be stupid. And I basically just want to understand it. I don't think I do.
Sure. Alright.
Hello, Squire Jonathan D. Cro-Magnon, or Crow for short.
I'm from Crow.
Yeah. I'm from Polaris, Minnesota. I originally started out as a strap shield main, but I was recommended to try punch, and now I'm just here to improve and grow with that. So.
Okay.
I'm Louis from Oregon. I started like 1 year with strap and then switched to a small punch, and then later down the line switched to this medium, died less. But I want to learn to be a little more versatile with it, proactive, something like that.
Okay. Before we begin, is it cool if I have a GoPro on? Is it cool if I record? I don't plan on uploading it necessarily, but okay.
I'm offended.
I can turn it on. Okay. Okay.
Alright, so primarily the way that I wrote this up is the structure of it's going to be, we have kind of more like a class thing for half of it. Then I figured we'd all pair off and watch each other spar, maybe the three of us, and kind of give feedback. So that's primarily how I have it. So the first thing we're going to go over, I'm going to ask you guys, what do you think the pros and cons of using a strap, of using a punch versus a strap is? I'm sure everyone can get a view out there. What are some that we're looking for?
The punch is easier to move by your opponent because you're holding it
shots you can throw and like angles you can like, create. And stuff.
Is that just because you can move your
You
punch
move your
out of the
board
way?
kind of any direction around your body, kind of up higher, you know.
Yeah,
lower.
yeah. I definitely. Actually, I don't want to say what I got here.
Secret.
Secret.
Just testing us.
Keep it safe. Anything else?
Pros, you can kind of disguise your range a little bit.
Yeah. Got that on here. We got that on here. That's pretty good.
Cheating off the test, he saw it.
Yeah, I read it all.
That's pretty good. What else? So I saw more versatility with shots. Is there any more, like any other versatility you can think of?
You said versatility with like defense too.
Yes, that's what I was going for. It's like a lot of people think punch is actually like less defensive than strap. Because strap, you can just like sit here. With punch, you can fucking like. If I'm fighting a lefty, I can literally like put my whole fucking board.
You also play as a lefty, right? Like,
Oh, I thought you were being serious. Like that's a real lefty. I was like, well, I guess you don't know.
no, there's the arm over here. They don't know how to do anything about like
You just pre-block it.
yeah, it's walking like this. They don't know what to do.
Alright, so the first thing I had to go over, like punch, let's go over the cons of punch shield, because obviously there are some. You mentioned it earlier, it's like punch shield can more easily be blown through with like hard shots. You just hold your shield. So we just discussed it earlier. I go to a lot of Bell bag events now, I didn't used to. In college, I didn't have a lot of fucking time to do that stuff, but I noticed there's a lot of like manipulation against my shield. I'm using punch that will even like shoot past with a spear, yank, and stab in really hard.
Especially if it's illegal.
With the pommel part.
Yeah.
Hey, there is a sword. Way to go, Rich. And also, I feel like I can't have such I have to be focusing and paying attention. I can't just be standing there. I don't have like a nice passive shield that sits on my forearm. So like if a red just comes straight fucking down my shoulder, if I'm not paying attention, it might just blow straight through my punch guard and actually hit me in the shoulder. So I have to actively be paying attention. Yeah. So, yes, that's what I mean. We also talked about poking on edges of the board. I've even done this a little bit in like quarantine. Like you can even you can even poke like edges of the board to get like a slight advantage in quarantine against punch shields. So you just stab and take out here. You go over the top even though it's totally missed.
Joke's on everybody, you can do that to straps.
Not as easy. Not as easily.
Yeah.
But the same thing goes for pinning and bashing with enemy shields, especially you dag fighters now. Like it's a lot easier for me. I'll use a pretty example. This is really awkward. Like I feel like I'm gonna punch you in like the chest or something.
Do it.
So like I know you guys use this a lot, Paula. This is a lot. You put him on the shield. You can come in. You can even kind of do that in hand.
That looked illegal.
Yeah.
You gotta place even on their hand, like push their hand, so I get that ability to push their hand, their sword away from the shield. That's also legal.
Yeah.
I just don't like hurting people, so I feel like as long as if I move their body too much,
So like the other thing we're talking about here, manipulation, the advantage of it is if you are infighting, step in here, hook and throw in, right? So there are like, and it works on like scrap ship lasers. So it's like a double-edged sword. You could, even though like you do this, right, and get manipulated as well, but having these, and being able to extend out and catch their equipment, they can manipulate yours, but you can manipulate theirs for further distances. So with the strap, they have to almost be right here, but
we talked about those are some cons. Well, actually, we went some pros in there on punch shield. We talked about less passive defense, needing to pay more attention to your guards. One thing that I found, like especially early on, if you're just kind of getting started on the grind, I feel like a punch shield can be really hard because if you're fighting a more skilled opponent, you find that you're like, oh shit, and then just moving your shield really out of the way. So you really, especially when you're getting started with punch, you have to really learn how to kind of keep your shield in a position and only move it just slightly when you actually block shots. Like, if I block my shoulder, I don't need to be like doing this, even though you see me do that all the time. If you ever watch me fight a team,
Red class.
but in reality, all I need to do is just a slight pump up shot. Maybe finish line, I want to be like, like pass. That's some sick shit you can do.
Oh, we did. Like,
Oh yeah, I also like this one where you punch out, and then wait, and then actually go back. That was really cool. But you also break a lot of sticks through that. The what shot?
the dab shot.
Show me the dab shot.
Roark showed me the dab shot.
Well, show me the dab
Is
shot.
it, you pump out here, right? Dab on.
Well, how are you protected when you do that?
You get this, but the whole thing is you make them out this way. And if they throw, you put it back here. The whole point is just dab on them.
All right, moving on.
Yeah.
All right. This one's not, it's a small thing, but I found like AmpGuard's kind of evolving in this thing where open weapon is no longer like straight up just sword and board and Florentine. Now we have like a bunch of different stuff, like people using downsticks and flails. Roark argued with me about this a little bit online, but I find that I can't reasonably hold, especially with this combo's not as bad, but with that handle, I can't easily hold a downstick and feel comfortable enough to swing and block a shot at the same time. So you might find that to be like a slight disadvantage in open. You don't have that option, you know, where it's not as good, because you could still hold your shield like this, but realistically for me, if someone smacks my fucking sword really hard, it torques my hand. It makes it hard to actually to block. And to me, if I'm losing like 5% of my defense, I just don't even want to fucking deal with that. So those are the cons. Who cares about the cons? We want to know all about the juicy, sweet stuff. All of the good stuff. So let's go to the next page. Starting off, we have more offensive options. Mobility of your sword or your shield. Your shield isn't constrained as much as your strap shield. It's easier to go under for dark sides and money shots. I really like, personally, to get down like how Roark's doing and get really, really low down. I feel like if you have a strap shield, you're really stuck where it has to stay here and you have to use mostly like this nice little turnover to get that angle to get the hit. But because I have a punch shield, I can almost just like put it on my back or the top of my head when I throw shots down there. I'll give you yeah, exactly. It's just like that. So like before, if this is like a strap shield, I have to kind of like this. If I turn too much out to get the shot, I'm exposing my side or my back. Well, the punch shield, I can actually throw this at angle. Just put my sword on top of my shield on top of my head. It's kind of like a little crazy.
You mind if I talk a little bit? Go for it. Okay, so one of the things that's really important about punch is that you need to do a lot more range control, right? So, like one of the biggest advantages is you do have that defensive maneuverability. But another good thing is, like, especially if you're using a small shield, like knowing your range and controlling range. I don't need to protect the shoulders much, right? So let's step in and get faking for that. Ooh, I said don't go. Yeah, you're doing the right thing, right? So see how far he's getting. And this is exactly what you want to use, right? So you can be sitting here and you throw up like this. So your bait guard is much better because you can just bait all over your body. There's something called decision paralysis, right? So there's a lot of that in punch where if you're able to control your defense, they have too many options, right? And they don't know which one's the bait and which one isn't. And you can control your opponent that way, but it requires a lot more range control. So part of it is knowing what is in range and what isn't, and you can just block the things that you know is in range. So I can sit like this here, and he fakes to my forward side, isn't really going to do anything, right? Because he has to step in, hit me, right? And the second I see that step is when I start responding. So controlling your opponent is really important in punch, just because you have that defensive capability, but you're easily juked, right? I don't know if any of y'all have been caught doing this. Like, fuck, I look like an idiot now, right? But if you know what is and isn't in range, and
don't really project my guard out until I want to take a lane. So, like what Roark just said, I don't really keep it all the way out here. I keep it out here just so I know what my range is. I don't necessarily throw poking shots necessarily like that, but I'll do what Brett does. I do these like little loops. You kind of can tell exactly how far away they are when you do it. So, but when I want, one thing you can do with punch, and I'm sure a lot of you know this, is you can put your board in the way of where their sword path is going to go, like as you close, and you can really force them to commit really far outside of whichever direction you get stabbed in the knee. So, whatever junk you have.
Tying up your opponent and coercion is really good, especially if you're using a smaller punch or you're bigger and using a middle. Like, it's all in relation, right? Whatever small is to you. Having the ability to send people down lanes, right? So, like, if I'm throwing like this, I know typically it's going to try and go this way, so I can keep it going high. A lot of this is a lot of similar stuff to single sword, right? Except you get an infinite hand block and it's much bigger, right? So trying to think that way is a good way to really control it. Because I fight with a smaller shield, I rarely fight in these positions because now I'm losing a lot of my advantage as a small punch user.
Because I can pick two directions.
Yeah, so I'm not projecting my defense, but not my offense, which I think is a high value for punch. Is like if I'm using a strap, I'm bringing my defense back here, right? Yeah. So, I'm a cool torch. I've got a giant round, right? So like I can sit like this and be able to close, right? It's a little easier with a bow, right? But I don't necessarily want to sit in this position as a small punch user, right? Because I'm not using the advantage that I think punch provides, which is a projector. Yeah. And trying like moving around your body, like use your left hand, your offhand to watch yourself, right? Because then you'll start realizing where your body is, and you can start practicing controlling where it's going to be, right? Like if I'm watching my arm and I've got a sword in my hand, like I can cover my whole arm by doing this. Another mental thing that I do is I'm just moving my board as their shots coming in. So if they're throwing shallow, I'll keep it here, but if I see them continue to reach, I'm just bringing it up my arm, right? And that's why I like an oval, because it projects this deeper down my body, right? So if they deep wrap me and I'm putting my hand here, they really have to reach for that, right? So trying to understand, like, you've got a heater, right? Understanding where your point is. Technically, circle is an infinite amount of points, right? So knowing where that arc is around your body lets you control deeper angles on things, right? So exactly, right? So as you're coming across, that's kind of like what Nip was doing there, right? But when you're in these positions, recovery is really important, right? So you can't sit in one position all that much, and like trying to get in and out. Like it was a sword foot forward, or sorry, shield foot forward, right? If you're using a small one or trying to exit, it's really good to hide range, right? By keeping your shit in the same spot as you stance change if you're being pressed, right? Exactly, right? So you can hide foot positioning with board a lot, punch board a lot easier.
Yeah, because you could be like in someone's face and they won't even realize it. So we'll be fighting from here, and I push my board out and I stepped right here. And my board position didn't really change, but I'm a half step closer, and now I can hit your shoulders.
Any questions so far?
Actually, yeah. So I noticed a lot of times when you were demonstrating, you were kind of naturally having your hand down low by your hip, below your punch. Is that where you normally fight at when you fight with a small punch like that?
Yes, do as I say, not as I do.
Okay.
Right. So eventually you'll get to a point where you understand how to move your board around your body, so that you can. I have it's an actual fucking longsword fighting. It's a fool's guard, right? So I'm down here like this. I'm pretty protected on my outside. All my shots have to come from one spot. So people are really wary of rising shots, right? But I can start rising shots rising shot, they're going to bring their board across. Even if they're strapped, they're going to be like, haha, I'm not getting fucking dark sided in the hip, right? And you can come back, block here, and high dark side.
Okay.
Right? So,
Oh, I'm just waiting till you finish this. No, you got it. Yeah. Okay. So on your like range control thing with
Yes.
so are you like, just from my observation, I guess, are you basically trying to avoid like the mid range? Like you're either out full range or.
No, yeah. I love to fight in yellow.
Really?
Everyone knows what that color is.
yeah, who doesn't know what red, yellow, green means when it comes to range control? Okay, perfect. Yeah, so yellow is when both of our limbs are in range, right?
Just our arms.
Yeah. And then here is red range, right? We both can hit our bodies. If you're shorter, your yellow range is the same length as your sword, right? So if you're shorter than people that you're fighting, play their fucking limbs. But if you aren't shorter, you're the taller one, you can really float in yellow, right? So part of it is staying where you're comfortable and leaving certain things out of range, right? So like, as long as you know what's in range, you're able to keep your board in protected spots, and you don't have to worry about fakes as much, right? Because like we were saying,
Yeah, because if Roark fakes to my hip or something from this range, I know it's not really a threat unless if Roark is a half step or a full step.
Well, then I guess what I meant was like, you prefer to be in yellow versus like the red or in the grind, like
It
not
depends.
in the
It
middle of
always
it.
depends, especially on like what combos I'm fighting. If I'm fighting against a dome user, I want to be wary of the red range. They have basically this side and like this, the top shoulder
Exactly,
and the
yeah.
hip completely protected, and they just have to get into the high cross game, and they'll probably win. So I kind of want to keep it right here, where I have advantage of mobility of my sword, and I can like pop their wrist with their arms. They try to reach out further. Generally, the better ones don't do that. They don't like reach the arm out. They try to like their feet a little bit, reposition and get in. So now they're right here. And they're doing stuff like that.
I was just like thinking because like you're supposed to put in their shit.
You can.
you're exposing yourself.
You can, like, we talked about how, like, you can gear manipulate with this, it's great, but on a dome, like, it's that curve, it kind of, like, slides off, and it's harder to do. It's even harder to grab that edge, because it's, like, set in.
Yeah. Another
Another thing is, when your high cross is cooler, you can do this.
Yeah, you can do this
So
one.
when you start, like, two things you have to be aware of. What position your handle is, right? That your handles are strong side, right? So you're going to get manipulated on the, fucking whatever axis this is, right? Whack, right? So one of the other things when you're in range is understanding your stick is a block too. Even if you're playing Dagbell, you can't anvil, right? But you can't keep it off your body, right? Use the blade to get that. It's your bat, and you can decide. So making sure that you're protecting, right? So I don't have to bring my board across. I understand that my stick can also cover these shots all through here. So if you're in red range, thinking about your bat protecting other things that you're using. So if he takes and you can get money, right? I can block like this and throw over here, right? So having this idea of being in red, right here, my bat is covering that shoulder. No, right? So if he goes this way, right? I can cover this stick here. Here, so you come in here,
Oh,
right?
oh,
And
shit.
throwing behind your head, right, is something that we both
cut
do,
my hair.
right? Yeah, come here, right? And the reason why I can do it is because I can protect this offside. Most of the time, if you step in and get, this is the deep wrap, right? I'm gonna fucking hit their board. They're just gonna money this, right? They'll throw the dark side of this. So I come here. He's a
Sorry, I'm a strap. Shield user.
So I can come across my body and throw it here, right? And I am protected on that high shoulder because my hand is coming up here, right? And I am susceptible up here, right? So if you see the fake low and come high, bring your board and exit. That's part of the range is slipping in and out of that red and yellow range.
That's what I was
Right? So it's much more important because I don't have a passive defense. So you want to be on your own terms when you do it and make sure you have
is that if you feel uncomfortable, you can exit with a shot at a different angle. So say we get into an uncomfortable high cross battle, I can kind of like throw in a different angle in the same location, exit, and it changes. It's pretty sexy. But also, I saw some people trying to do this. If you have some issue with trying to get your board over here to throw this cross, Bell does this. He actually puts his sword right before he does it, like right behind his shield, like this. It doesn't seem very optimal because you think, oh wait, they're just gonna, money me because my hand's no longer in this position. But it's not always here the whole time in the fight. As a punch shield user, you can float your hand around a lot more. Feel more comfortable because you can cover it with your board. So especially when I'm fighting, I'm not really just coming up to the fight like this and keeping my sword very static. It's kind of like moving around, pumping, and then I can switch position. And because it's right behind the board, I'm almost like opening the door, ready for that cross. And if you want to get that really cool around the headshot, one way that's really cool to do it is you can enter, you can throw an opener with a cross, step in, you're left with the board, you pump, you can turn it behind your head like that. Obviously, Marty's blocking. I like it. If they're a strap shield user, it's not going to be that open.
Hell yeah, shot create.
And because I have a punch, I'm turning my body and I'm covering what they might throw as a high cross. But mine's not necessarily a high cross. Around their shoulder, going under their armpit, and I'm turning my shield to block everything. I can even bring my shield up a little higher, so the only thing that's open is my wrist when I do it.
Any other questions? Just answering, like, theory, other things that aren't tracking. Yes. No, nothing. We're good. Sorry. Don't apologize. This is for you, not me. So, what are the problems that you guys encounter when you're fighting other people? What do you notice?
Like as the fight goes on, my guard suffers, like it gets pulled easier.
So do you fight sword foot forward or board foot forward?
Sword foot forward most of the time, yeah.
So if you're getting pulled, you don't know your range, right?
Most likely.
So this is where those exiting shots are really important, and this is where like practicing single sword will help you a ton, because you'll get like closing on someone's single sword, you're just like, my idea didn't work. Having really good defense is very, very important, and that's where like your sword comes into play. And using your sword to get yourself out of positions is very, very important, right? Because your board isn't protecting as much as a strap shield user, and it's not as like the confidence in that passive defense isn't there. So you get this anxiety of like, I gotta block all this shit with only my board. So bringing your sword into play is very, very important. And once you get confidence at blocking shots, it becomes like a second board, right? And trading off blocks, like typically, I'll block here, and if someone is throwing multiple shots and I know it into that same location, you can transfer the block to the board and swing anywhere else. Dark sides and like high crosses, typically with a strap shield user, is very disadvantageous because you're stuck in these positions. If I'm a strap user, in order for me to high cross, I'm throwing away with my own board, right? With this, you can tuck it in, and you're protecting all of your body on this side, and that's where punch starts coming into its own. Is doing these things that breaking the rules of sword and board. I don't know if y'all got told, like the first rule of sword and board is don't move your board, but you have a punch shield now, and you're just like, I don't know what the rule is anymore. It still kind of fits that way 80% of the time, and it's that extra 20% that punch shines in, and that, like, who struggles with range control, right? So what are ways that you guys can learn range control better? Right? So part of it is these testing shots or these flourishing movements that you understand where your stick is, and maintaining that range with their stick is really important. The cone of defense, right? My most extended is straight out from my shoulder. So when you start blocking lower shots, dipping and turning is really important, right? So if someone's really digging for these shots, you don't have to completely bring your arm out here and then expose by protecting this way. It's all about keeping your hands in relative relation to the board. So like, I don't really want to be out here blocking and my hand out here. So if I'm coming out to block, I'm bringing most of my equipment out here. And if I get juked, this is when I start moving my hand, right? And once I see them transitioning to an inside slot, then I start bringing my board over. And that way you're not really chasing, right? You're covering the things that are in range. And this is why we typically enjoy fighting in yellow, because now I don't have to worry about these offsides, and I can protect a lot easier.
It's very important though to be able to transition to be able to fight like really close really quickly. That's something I think I do really well. Is I feel very comfortable in this range, but in a moment's notice I feel like I can block a lane and come in really close.
Go ahead. I feel like where I struggle at is I like to stay very far away, you know, and I'm okay like close up, but getting there is the issue, or backing out is the issue.
So you might have an issue with like throwing an opener while you're stepping, maybe?
Yeah.
Or if we can watch your fights later and we can give tips as we watch as well. So, like some really common openers I do are just one guard. This is just super simple. Like if I'm about to come in and throw up their hand, because if I throw up their hand, they have to swing around my hand. They can't really swing through. Okay. I can also throw at the board. Sometimes just throwing at someone's board will get them to not do anything. So I can throw at the board and actually throw at the board again, but actually harder and higher, because they think, oh, assuming that this is a bigger shield. Assuming that this is a bigger shield, they might be like, oh, I'm safe, but I really actually need to throw a real shot. I take a slight step more and go for it. If you ever want to get this shot over the rim, it's not really a punch thing. It's just you want to make sure that it's above or at the rim like you're you don't have to even do a full wrap to land it. You just have to make sure that you're on your wrist or above.
But yesterday kind of saw us out to the single hit line for a while.
Unless it was a dunk.
But I know this was so when I saw something frustrating, I walked off, got some water, I'm gonna join
right? So I can be out here. This projecting this out closes out outside lanes. Right? And when that happens, like I can be in this position, and you see them step and go to that outside step, they'll start rotating at the hip, right? And rotations and blocking is very similar to strap. But coming back here, people that dip it, right? You don't need to push it off and do a whole bunch of other stuff that you can find in the punch. You get this control and you have this passive bait. Over here, I'm protected on this arm. They see that shoulder. And it's about coercion, right? I want to encourage them to come here, right? And I have all of these options because I step in here, and this is where this offside behind your back exit out the throat, right? So you're trying to bring everything in a defense together. And in all of this, my arm isn't moving too much further past my board. Everything is roughly rotating around my shield here and keeping it within the same range, so I don't end up exposing my arm. And it's remembering the relationship between board and outside.
You should have them all show us.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're just assuming that they have a stand.
Yeah.
What if they're just like,
Well, they should have gotten that in the basics class, the intro on the
yeah,
basics. But
yeah.
you know, for y'all, I'll do it.
All right.
Nip, he says like
We could just break up and like see like what people see.
y'all should spar. Y'all should get into a position to spar, and then after we see your position, we'll give you a little bit of feedback. Hit each other.
Mel, I have a gift for you.
I play around with great.
Later after class.
Yeah.
Don't fight. Don't fight. Don't fight. Get into your stance before we say lay on.
Personally,
I watched him bring 16 swords in a month.
So why are you in this position? I don't give a shit what you do. I want to make sure that you know why you're doing it.
Okay, so left foot forward is more defensive, and then the guard is more projected to be able
So
to.
can you project your guard anyways?
I can, but this one's more like I have more reach with the sword than I do with the shield to be able to defend myself.
So
And kind of keep the opponent away. Like
you
and
have to be
block
close to him. Yeah, so the reason why I'm like, even with that medium, you get to protect more damage, and you can extend it to control, right? So if you want to fight like this, like you're cutting off a lot of your extended offense, right, and your extended defense. Whereas in that position, go to your guard in this position, right? Do you have any more different shot options, right? So switch stance again, right? Your board didn't move. You just pulled your stick further away from him, right? So if you're in the other position, right, you just increased your range. And if you're trying to not get bullied on these points, right, that's when you'll start pulling your board closer to your body. And a lot of it is learning when to keep your board against your body and off of your body, right? And do you understand what I'm saying? Okay. So
Step out.
I was working in this position, and controlling your own range and in relation to
Admittedly, I naturally fight sword foot forward, but I usually I fall for a bait and I get money shotted a lot, so I'm kind of used to like this.
You can still get money shot in this position, right? It's just going to be inside, right? I'll throw money here, and you'll step in, right? So you're not as protected as you think, right? And so if you bring your other foot around, this is where rotation becomes important, right? Of your body. So if I'm throwing money here, you don't necessarily you can do this offside step position, right? But if you throw money on me, right? Here, right? No, it's fine. It always goes, right? You're still threatening that same rotation, right? So if you notice what I'm doing to protect that, right? Throw here, right? And this is where punch becomes high value, is I can project my board out here and throw this high cross, right? And in this position, I've controlled your stick, and you have this giant surface here that's covering. So even if they throw a high dark side, right, into my glove, I'm covered, my hands behind them, right? My board is covering up here. And this is only because I can project, right? Because a sword and board user, like strap, is here, and they can throw the same from their full arm out, right? And that hip isn't covered, right? So you go to project that guard, sword foot forward, right? Keep it a little closer to your body, your shield, right? And then extend your hand out a little past the board, right? Yeah. So if I throw money here, block, and now I'm going to throw another one and throw over, right? So I've got, yes. So you see how you control, you don't need to push it all the way off, right? Because here, you're covering your arm and your hip, right? There's nothing I can really do. It's just pushing your board into you, right? So having that as an option and coming over is one of those advantages. And if it's close to your body, like I'm closing, right? Pull your board close to your body, right? I can't know. Like, you can have it like this, right? And then this is where you're going to use your hand to protect this high side here, right?
Right. Yeah.
So even cantilever like this, you're covering your arm too. So all I see is this, and I don't see much out here.
Okay.
And this is where you start moving your board to protect this shoulder. You don't need to move it that much. You can keep it against your body and rotate it out like this, right? And if you keep your hand in relation to your board like this, if I'm out here and I have a strap and I'm throwing this deep wrap, you don't need to move it that much, right? Go back down here. Don't move your shield.
Oh, wow.
I have to step all the way up here, right? But if I'm doing this, like I said, track it and keep it close to your body. Keep your hand in relation to it here, right? So a lot of that inside is cut out, and you can throw from my arm in these positions, right? You don't want to throw out like this because they have a board. You want to cut these lanes here.
Okay,
right?
so more of a chop and less of a...
Yes, you're throwing a lot more chops on the inside cuts, right? Because presumably they've got a board and it's big old board. It's going to rim. If you're throwing out like this, it's going to catch the rim and hit hand. Right? Whereas if you're cutting this inside lane, it's a chop, exactly, right? And so what's the return off of this is this dark side, right? And you can block there, and you'll throw for shoulder, right? This one's open on me, I'm a strap shield, chop, right?
Chop the shoulder?
Yes, right? And extend out to the shoulder with your, yes, here. What is open on you?
Arm.
All this, right? So where do you need to move your shield as you're throwing it? Here, right? So you'll bring your hand low and throw out like this, right? Keep it a little higher. Here, right? Because all of this is covered. I can kind of sneak a shot in here, but honestly, you're going to get hit in the head before it comes in.
Right.
If you do want to throw, go back, right? If you want to throw for this shoulder, bend palm up here, right? Because you're arcing around this way, and you're in a solid hand position to block the return, which is over the forearm, right? So people will throw up over here,
So
and you'll block out. Is that making sense?
yes, but if I'm doing the backhand, would it be your left shoulder?
No, if I'm throwing this backhand, I want to hit here,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
The thing is, you either want to throw on the inside with that backhand, throw it there, right? So you're cutting this angle here, right? And if you're on the outside, you'll want to cover more exactly here, and you can throw that high angle and land up there, right? And you're covered with your hand on this side. Go back to that position.
With this position?
Yes, right? So you'll need to be able to block here, and this is where you're going to start bringing your board across, and you're transitioning back into a normal guard here, right? And this is how you're going to start controlling your opponent, is through these shots here, where I'm covered, right? And yes, perfect, right? And you can go under and be fighting left-handed, basically, right?
Right.
So it's a little harder for you, but you're going to want to cross further, go under your board, right? Go under your board.
Under my board. Okay.
Yes, there, right? You don't need to cover as much here if you're in this position, and you can throw a high dark side into the forearm.
Forearm, sorry.
Right? Because a lot of the times when people high cross, they bring their board across, but they're in this position because they're protecting their hip. So you can rotate your hand over like this, and now they're in a fucked position, right? They might pull back and block, and what's back in this position? What is open on you?
On me?
Yeah.
Shield side hip.
No, because you've crossed me out with this board, or this stick, right? So in order for me to go to shield side hip, I have to come all the way down here, and at that point, you'll be able to start tracking and rotating around this way by the time I clear your stick and be around. So go back into that position again, aha! So the only thing that I see open is your shield side shoulder. So after you throw that shot, start bringing everything back into guard, where your neutral stance, your neutral guard.
Okay, so it
Here.
would look like this.
Exactly, right? Because they're gonna go, bah, block, right? They block this exactly, and then they're gonna throw over there. What's open now?
The arm and shoulder.
So just throw for the arm, because most people have this huge board that's gonna cut. So I aim for like here. This is my goal, is to hit this position and if you're controlling range and we're out here, right? I'm like, oh, I can see that shoulder. Just step in, and that's when you start bringing your board closer to your body, right? And then start tracking where my hand is. The further my hand goes, the more you'll start to rotate and bring your board back, right? And if you don't want to go too far where your weight's over there, at this point where the weight starts transitioning just past your arch, move. Pivot and exit, or pivot and step.
Sorry, clarification on just past my arch.
So your weight, right? Like if I'm leaning this way to block my shoulder like this, right? If I keep rotating, I'm feeding my hip, right? Where if I rotate here, past once my weight goes past my knee, goes past my arch, my heel is moving up, right? So now I'm in a good position to pivot off of this. And you can go in or out, right? So I'll pivot, and then you can step in, right? And this is where you're cutting off, using their shield to cut off angles on you, right? Because they can't swing through their board. So if I'm standing here and you're a strap shield user, right? Oh, wow.
I like options.
Yeah. So if I'm here, you can't swing through your board. Right? So I just keep my board here, right? And I track the hand, right? So in my peripheral, I'm watching what you're doing. And even if you start digging deep out here, I can bring my board back. And my hand's still in a good position. Like, even if they cover it, right? Go to cover it, what you got there, right? I can step here and throw. I can throw out here, and I keep my hand in these positions, right? Because once I've controlled their stick with my punch, they can't fucking do anything, right? So using this as your advantage, I've stance changed, right? So now technically I am board foot forward, and this is where I go back into my neutral, right? So I'm able to step in and out and control the stick the whole time, right? And keeping that in mind is very important, right? And I think that's why I prefer punch. You have any questions? There's no dumb question.
Other than like listening to what you're saying and stuff, I think, like I said, where I struggle at is kind of
Losing. Yeah. That's just going to be a question of your opening shots, and that's more of like I said, single sword stuff. So go to guard, right? So if you want to close one, don't choke up again. Sword go all the way. Like you want to fight with the max range, choking up while you're still block, but now you're chasing arms. Here, you can block just as much with a rotation and keeping your hands up. Like, you want to be as vertical as possible, but this is also, you have to think of your whole bat when you're doing this shit, right? So my bat is covering a lot of my shoulder. If they're going to the outside, they can't swing through it. So this is covering almost my entire outside body, and that's what I want to see out of right? So some of my closers are here, right? And when I do this, what's open to me?
Yeah,
So this is where I can control where my defense is, right? My body is completely out of range. You can dig for my crotch, right? Yeah, you'd have to step. So from this position, no, stay in that position, swing under board side, where it would be, right? This is as far as you can hit. You're hitting my inside thigh, right? But if you are swinging at me and I'm stuck here, right? I have this as an option, right? And so it's drawing people out as you're closing, right? And it's understanding what's open when you're throwing. Once you start getting into red range here, if I've tied you out, I can come up to block here and I bring my board into this position, right? Because if you start chasing the shoulder shot here, I can throw them under, right? So you want to keep it here for closing and rotate at the waist to block this, right? You don't want to be this tucked. You want to be around here, right? And don't be so fucking stiff, right? You don't need to pull. You need to be loose. It's very much flowing. And when you start, the way I fight is I don't have combos. Like I'm rarely going like, okay, I'm gonna step in, flat cross backhand, down here, hip wrap, right? I'm coming in, I close, I get a like informative shot in. Like, are they a twitchy motherfucker? Are they gonna do this stuff, or are they gonna panic and sit, right? You don't need to go all of that. So you're up here, block, right? Coming to throw that shot, right? Go to throw again. See how you came up like that? Here, right? And I'm covered on the board side. You don't need to go all the way around. Throwing shallow shots.
What do you mean by shallow?
So you're attacking with shallow, right? So if I want to address, like, you're throwing to get up here, right? So I can do the same thing from this position here, where I'm cutting in, and I don't necessarily need to hit them in these positions. I just need to tie up the stick. And those are ways to close, right? So I'm closing, I throw this shot and they have to come to guard. You don't need to go all the way out, right? Keeping a tight defense is really important with the shield that's moving, right? And smooth. Right? Right? Changing tempos, coming up here, closing. Right? And I throw like this, I can block my
I'm fighting very straight.
but I can also be here, throw for my forearm, come back this way, here, right? And it's about using both hands in tandem. You can't just let one be passive. You have to, this is where like the coach so passive force people into select shot options they can want to throw. Everyone thinks like, man, Monkey's so fast with that block. He already said, you're going to throw for the shoulder because this is what's exposed when I throw this shot. And the second your hand twitches, the second you see the response, you know where they're going to throw because you forced them into a bad option. I view it as a choose your own adventure, right? So I'm letting them take the page, but I already know the end of the story. So I'm forcing them down these options, and it's a false dichotomy. And you want it to just continue down your path of decision making. And that way it doesn't feel like you're pressured, right? And the pressure is what gets you to chase sticks, right? You don't need to chase it. It's like, I know I'm safe here, right? I know the counter option, so I know what's open on me when I throw this stuff. And because of that, I have to be prepared to immediately block it. And another good way of blocking is moving out of range, moving something out of range. And that's this reposition, right? Or if they start rotating around my sword side, so rotate around my sword side, right? I need to be able to keep this shoulder out of range. Otherwise, they end up having this position where even though I'm in a good stance, I am still in red range for both sticks, right? Or both shoulders. Exactly. Right? So I can only cover one of these at once. At least with mine, right? I've done this a handful of times. When I start coming across my body, I'll blind myself with my board on occasion. And keeping it like enough to just protect here and always keep line of sight, that's really important. There are times where you'll have to do it, right? And that's typically when you're coming across the body this way or trying to do shit that punch does. But the only reason why, you know how I was talking about throwing this shot, is because I know that everyone is thirsty to kill a punch user, right? So I'll throw here, what's open on me? This, right? And I've already said this is what you're going to swing at, right? And that's, so the controlling shot options as you close is what you have to do. Does that answer a lot of questions? Perfect. Definitely a big issue. Good.
I'm glad they took legs off the table. That's like
I'd be down to grab my scholarship. See if you I've been using both. I've been. Yeah, I know that. Or I was hoping to basically be trying to fight with the bigger shield when it's and then with you.
Yeah, for sure.
They are different. It's good to have.
So, yeah, I like I was saying, you right? And so go to your guard. Yep. Right. Not necessarily right. I felt confident for a second, maybe.
Yeah, you had like a really good. I feel like even in the beginning, you had a really good option right here, or actually both of you. You could have done a thing.
I know it feels super fucking good to react, right? But what is open?
But it is kind of scary, right? Because you're like, oh, now my arms are closed. So you do have this cool shield now. You can go like, oh, here, and then actually extend your arm to protect your
right? So if someone is man, learning sucks.
It's hard. Why isn't this easier?
It makes me feel sad.
It makes me feel dumb, right?
It's not incentive, right?
I'm almost trying to
control it down here, and you know where your thumb is coming over, right? You know where that corner is. And if there's, you don't have to yeah, I got body. You got body. Did I really? Oh yeah, you got it. Thanks, man. The fastest thing, right? Go to that position here, and you're cutting across, right, through that way. What's open on you now, right? No. So I can swing over the top here. So if you see my hand transition to this side of your head, your boards just start tracking my hand, right?
But it's also like,
yeah. So now I'm like, fuck, I get to see this, right? And when this position is happening, where's your point going to go? Too much, right? So your point's covering your shield, your shoulder here, right? And this is where you can dark side here, right? So now I'm extending out my body. Where's my forearm? Because this is what's coming out. I am a
Yeah, because if you do have guard back.
yeah, but you can't throw guard the extended block unless they come all the way out like this. And at that point, as you start seeing their board come out, I would come down and hook stab, right? Because if I have a shield, I'm cutting out this angle deep for the wrap here. You're gonna hit rim of board. Whereas if you're stepping and throwing that stab, perfect, right? So you'll come in with this diagonal stab here, and because everyone fucking loves money, right? Go to guard, right? Here, right? And now I have this punch shield completely blocked out.
Yeah,
the benefit of,
And then what's the other thing that's open on my body?
it's also a dead down here, but
Right?
Okay.
So you can come back and block this and exit stuff. right? So it's getting in and out of this red ring.
You're already down the limb, so go ahead and go for it.
I really like defensive drop stabs, right? So if you're getting pressed on it, so it's like, I want to fucking fight in red. You can throw here and step back and drop low, right? You can lower your level and cover much higher with the board, right? And so trying to catch these people in missteps, right, is really important.
When I'm throwing through to
Another thing I like, I kind of touched on this. If I'm getting closed on, right, super slow, right, I'm doing this. They press again, especially out to this side, I'll do this, right, throw to the opposite side that I want to step to, because now they're tied up. They have one option, which is over here. I can now counter step here. I'll catch this block, and all of this shit is open on that. But this is also something you can do with strap. But the advantage is, you catch this block, they throw another high cross. Well, so that's a strap shield, or a punch shield high cross, right? So they're just throwing up, and this board is stuck here, so throw it. This is when you get this dark side in, right? And the only time you really want to throw these shots here is when you've stepped in. And the start of the shot is out here, like you're about to throw a deep wrap, right? Their board is cutting off some shot options on your inside forearm, and this is what I was getting at about using their defense against them. Right here, and now you can step in and throw this one, right? Their only option is up here, but they're not thinking about that when you're here, right? Because this is all covering this shoulder.
They're probably thinking more on this side.
Yeah, yeah. So that, and if this doesn't work, right, you're up in this position, right? They're throwing to the outside. They've got this protected.
grabbing an amp stick from a buddy to bring
Right?
in, but I'm like,
See, this is where letting in shot is really
about having to train up a little bit.
and understanding where their board is in relation to yours, because you have these, you get to decide the lanes that you're throwing on.
really get it in there, or start really high
I've known this for a little while.
and really drop. But obviously, some people can't really get that squat. So the basic is like turn my body.
Yeah, I almost describe it as starting a lawnmower sometimes, because like you have this like turning rotational. Rip the cord. Yeah. Beyblade. Fortunately, my dad card is not super highly calibrated because they're also all amp guard cross gamers, so they let me get away with a little bit of tappy stuff.
If you only had a slightly lighter stick, I think you would have landed this, actually, because they were in the right position.
Story of my life.
Yeah.
Big sticks, big burden, baby. You might have killed me, I don't know.
When they were caught on the other side, take that step in with your left foot and rotate around them. So you were already in this position like this. If you step this way, now my board is this whole. Their board is my protection. I can project my guard out, throw over the top.
Especially if they're
I ducked way into it, but
It's a cool shot though.
so like going from there straight to the version.
You had my lunch. You both have a good lean, which is good. I like to see it. That's what I really like to do. I really like this lean. You both want to learn a really cool shot? Of course. Okay. So when someone aggresses on you really hard, you do this really easily with a punch because you have this like huge manipulation right here. I don't want to say the real name for it, because it's not really very close to it, but I want to go under my board when they close in, they can't see it. Come around.
I try it. It puts a lot of tension on my elbow and shoulder to do with this thing, man.
Oh yeah, really consider it. But you actually don't have to go.
To pump it?
Yeah, you can go like that. But obviously, it's more convincing if I'm like, for sure. Okay. But it works really, really cross. When they come in and do that on me, I can turn and hit the middle. Okay, sick. And because I'm bringing my guard over here, even if you cross, you're not going to hit my arm. And if you even cross harder to try to like actually go for it, I can now bring my board all the way over and just pop it right.
I love that shot so much.
If you want to land it some more too, it's called a modified dark side. You don't want to throw here. You actually want to throw up. And you want to throw up and at an angle. So boom, like up, up. I don't actually like going for the hip because people are actually pretty good. I want to sit and
So, I'm just asking for like advice in this way that I play a whole lot. I'll use high cross like a bad fighter. I'll actually like come here and chop. Is that like core position? Do you think I could do that better?
I think that's pretty good.
Okay. All right.
I just like to, instead of chopping, I prefer to use mostly my elbow and
roll
like
over
arm and do this.
Okay.
But this is totally reasonable.
Okay.
And I actually do more of the throw after this one. So it's like boom, and then throw.
Right. Yeah, usually for me it's like I'll either fake a flat wrap or fake a leg and continue that motion under. Okay.
Yeah. For real. I know you have your camera on, but did you want to?
Sure. Some critique would be nice.
Actually keeping it much closer is different from what I.
We almost fell there.
Oh, damn it. Oh, I saw.
That's one thing I did right there was literally what we talked about in our class. I was right here, I put it out, and then I stepped in like this.
Yeah, by the time I registered, I was like, oh, and then you just got it right.
So I just masked my range just a little bit just to get it.
Slick.
Simple fake up, just turning over.
Okay.
So you can do that as well. So you just go pump up,
Hell yeah,
punch your hand up towards my board side as if you're gonna hit me in the shoulder. Not out, just up. Up, and then come down. Because you have a pretty decent like money shot. I really like how you actually drop down and do that. But you have to add a more convincing pump. Okay? Because this doesn't look like a real shot.
Every single person.
Okay? This looks like a real shot.
Okay.
All right? So I want you to really sell it. But keep in mind, the better the person is that you're fighting, generally the less you have to do.
Okay.
So, I mean, like, if I'm fighting a new player and I want them to think I'm going to hit them in the shoulder, I'm going to go, woo! And then hit them over here.
Nip,
What's
let's
up?
do a bear pit where we stay in even if they win. That way we can get some feedback for
Okay.
everyone and loop through.
Sure.
And then we can let them play amongst each other in a bear pit. And we'll,
All right.
we'll have everyone watch the fights, and then we can talk about...
What if they cream us?
Huh?
Just kidding.
They get to
Yes!
teach the class. Yeah, God damn it.
And then I pay $50. No, but just remember when you're like throwing a shot, you really want to sell where the shot's going. So if I'm going to throw a shot at your arm, am I going to throw it like this? I might throw it like that. So it's going to look like I might not land the shot, but I might do this. You know?
Right.
Makes sense?
So more intensity.
A little bit more intensity with the hand pump. I also noticed that you were moving your punch with your sword, kind of like this.
Yeah.
I would try to you can keep the punch. I'm not saying don't move the shield, but try to keep them a little bit more separate. So I'm gonna float around my hand
Okay.
like this. I'm gonna move my over here, top
Oh,
here.
you got it.
Okay. But now I'm gonna but I might also start moving my guard this way to
Face
make
the
you think it's a
shoulder.
mistake. I might just be doing it to make you think it's a mistake. Just like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
take the leg. All right.
That's slick.
So, simple ones, more intensity with that pump, all right?
Okay.
Also, although some people might punish you. I mean, everything's not one for one, right?
Right.
Because, they might, you might be like, oh, and then they just hit you on the arm. So
Yeah.
just kind of feel it out on what they have to do.
Doing.
Okay.
They got him punished. Huh?
I wasn't watching.
Oh, okay. It's gonna get feedback.
I was watching a bit more of how you
Moving my board.
closer. They have theirs projected out.
So,
Like how it was doing with
yeah.
their-
They were chasing it a glove. Oh, that was sexy.
Mark, block. Yep.
Read it out.
Sorry. Good. This is where the outside rotation.
Ah, the punch shield, the extra
Yeah.
shield.
It's like this blocking this shoulder. So it's dropping low, even if you're taller, it's really fucking important. Because you can cover all of these positions as long as I keep track of his hand. Right? So hand tracking is really important because my board needs to respond to that. One more. Woo! So because I have a weird shaped board, I forget, I remember. So I'll use the chicken wing to block my outside shoulder, or my, like the deep wrap. So bring it here, my point covers all this, but this part of my arm is covering that outside shot. I really don't want to get hit there, but I'm fine with trading my board side.
To take an arm.
Yeah, to take an arm. Because if you're a strap shield user, you sit back and you're like, ugh.
They can't really do that. Yeah.
Well,
You'll
you're dumping your shield, right? Especially tournament fighting, right? You're not like in a ditch. I don't try to do it because then I lose my fun arm. But in a tournament, right? So you'll take this arm, I take your arm. You're a strap shield. You're a strap shield. Yeah. So you awkwardly shake your other arm to get it off while you're holding the bat. So you throw here, fuck them. Don't let them switch. Right? The advantage is
I do, but you don't have to.
Huh?
I said I do, but you
Fuck
don't have
them.
None of your trading arms.
Yeah. And,
Oh, well, I was
like,
assuming that I had taken the arm first.
and you're in transition.
Oh, okay.
Let's say we both trade sword arms.
You're trading arms. Oh, yeah.
Like you have make sure your transitions are fast, right? Because you're gonna play with both of your hands a lot quicker than everyone else, and that's something that's very important. Is making sure you're really good at hand transition, because you can do that hot swap. You're a teacher. You wanna fight? Okay. You wanna fight? Hell yeah. You can get ready while he fights. Ha! Mario hop you.
Practice time. Trying to get loose. You told me to get loose.
Yeah, but you're jerking it.
I would. You're also. It's too close to your body. I think your sword arm. It's
Yeah.
almost like right here. Just kind of keep it a little more out there. I'm not saying do this.
Yeah, I keep my, like, I want the rim of my board pretty much touching my wrist, right? And then I can keep it, like, even if I'm not really sure what I want to do, it's really hard to get the inside spot, right? Trying to chop down on my arm, right? It's really fucking hard to hit this, right? So, last two. But if I'm in this position, it goes to the outside is the fake, right? You're fake money, right? Here. So this is where the advantage of my board comes in. Where, like I was saying, you don't keep your hand in the board, right? So go throw to my outside again after that fake. So fake my money. Yeah. Where's your fucking board, dude? Hey, wow, you got a punch shield now. So you have to remember, as you're extending your shots out, cover what's open, right? So if you're keeping that shoulder out of range, extend your shot out, right? No. Right? In order for me to hit your shoulder, I have to come all the way out here. And the amount of time, you don't necessarily need to shrug all the way back. Go to that position out here. Your shoulder is fucking covered. And I still can't even get this inside spot. Right? And the second I'm in this position, and you see my hand tracking this way, right? You know, so you did a bad thing after bringing your arm back out without covering it with this side, right? You came back like this. Now I can shoot out here.
Notice I was like,
So keeping that in tandem track just on your board, right?
You're going to go to the outside. You're going to go to the outside.
Then you're short out. Then you're short out like this.
Yeah, so make sure that
Right?
you
Move your shield to the ball. Right? I'm going to move past me. You track. Right?
So that's better.
Now, right? I faked you. Don't chase it, right? Because now, so just understand what's in play. You don't need to bring it all the way back. If that shoulder is still vaguely out of range, right? So here, I can't hit it. You don't actually land from the back. Huh? Oh, I did? Yeah. Oh, sick.
You just built different.
Yeah. So that's where you're rotate, Matt. Rotate, block it, right? And now you're set up to come down for that shot. Don't have it be two different things. See how it's two different things? So at the same time, I'm throwing like this, right? Because I'm putting it in, and you aim with this head, it's his fault. Oh, sick! Y'all are fucking wrong. Suck my dick. Yeah, so keeping it all together is really fucking important. Even if you have a bigger shield, it means you can cover more on that outside while you're covering your shots. But having, like, you've got a solid point on your heater. I don't know your name. Kelsey? Galaxy. So having that point be able to cover, just knowing where that point is while you're swinging is key. Because that's like, they can't blow through the point. And so that's your huge advantage of having these awkward shaped shields. Yeah, exactly. Right? I don't necessarily like fighting with that point up. Okay.
I was just like, I have one.
Yeah. But then you don't have to go.
It's bow time.
Bow jangle.
Bow time.
Like, yep.
That was cool. I like how you did like
This? Yeah.
that just hurts my spine.
Yeah, so this is where when both through to my outside shoulder, I lean back like this, right? You don't have to do it as drastic as I do here, right? You can just lean out in a much more I'm really excited I covered the little upside. Yes, yeah,
that was pretty sick.
That was pretty good, right?
Yeah, that's good.
But that's my intro shot. Yeah, right? So I know. Okay. Good job. I'm proud of you. I was like, I think he's going to throw that probably right off. So I'm going to get out there and get that covered up. Right? So the thing is, if you're protecting that shot, right, you don't want to protect it like that. So you have this round shape. Go up. Right? You have this round shape. I can't necessarily tag it through there. I have to really go down like this.
Yeah. I was worried it was going to be better than I thought, though, so I went higher just to make sure.
No, you can't. You're cutting, like, you have to play by, like, millimeters with the punch, right? So if you extend all the way out like that, here. So if you keep it a little higher, this is much more protective. It's a lot harder for me to chase it. Perfect, right? We brought it more out of range, so you still have this covered. And if I extend out, perfect. Exactly. Good shit. Do you have any other questions?
Hit bow some more.
Huh?
Hit bow some more.
That's the plan. Oh,
That was good! Yes! I love loop fakes. Just like a little, this shit is so much fun.
Can you do that again for the camera?
Yeah. I want to show the camera a loop fake. So you can actually just trace the edge of the board. Oh, you gotta pop over on your toes.
Oh, that's far away.
Trace.
This
This is actually my favorite one. I'll do it to all of like people. If I've never been to a kingdom before, trace the board.
Hook into it. Yeah, hook into your board.
Bamboozle.
It doesn't work when they start fighting.
Exactly.
No, because
I left it out. I just came in and just left it there for you. Yes.
I don't even need to turn over because the board generally follows.
They will probably cross.
Ooh, slick.
That's where the rules.
I was trying to fall for it.
Yeah. You can swing a tandem until you still use their shield to block out the shots.
And now you So actually, it's the other way. I'm tracing the board. So it's almost like I'm cocking here. So we're crocking. Yeah, it's just a big loop. It's just one loop. You need two. I mean, I guess you could.
I started down here and I was like, I guess it does. I came a loop and a half.
Yeah, because I'm starting from here. It's literally
Yeah, so then it's, okay, so you're up high. Yeah. You're up here and then you're straight. And that's why the setup will be.
yeah. Just make sure hand above the rim. So. And you can even make sure you get that explosion with your toes.
Yeah, get off the ground.
Yeah.
Hop, jump.
Right, so
Get down.
Yeah, that's good.
Ooh,
That's
nice.
good. And now they're like, damn it, I got hit with a big old loop. I don't want to get hit with a loop again. So you do it again. Hit him in the arm.
It's Tony. He's Tony. He showed me like 3 Tony shots.
Boom, step in. I'm stepping in, I'm rotating my guard, so it's completely rotating. Double board side. Want to fight?
Good stab, yes.
We'll have to get more.
Oh, wait, 100 pounds less would have been tied. Wrist. That was already off.
I'm communicating.
And also, it tilts your opponent because it makes you look like you're still lazy.
Yeah.
Like, eh.
90% of what I do. I love it. I've never been more happy than I am right now.
Sorry. I lean. Elbow then off, elbow then dead.
So I'm keeping that trailing shoulder out of range, right? So I'm able to split for the most part. And my board comes with.
Yeah.
Right? So the only time is when you start like stepping to that outside, I'm gonna start rotating my board. Okay. Because at this point, like if you're faking me to the outside, I'm here. You just throw the shoulder. Now I can bring it. Now I can bring it across. And this is why it's the fool's guard, right? Because through here you're like, what's gonna happen, right? And so if you go to your normal A-frame, right, all this shit's coming up here, and now I can just start hand faking you through here, and my board is covering all of my hand fakes. Okay. The hard part, so you have to change up what you're doing as you get closer. So I can't hand fake here. Both shoulders are in range, right? So now I'm in this position, right? I'm trying to keep all of this like a boxer's guard, right? So in this position, your hand's a little higher than mine, right? So now I think you might throw a hip wrap. So short side, right? No, throw outside here.
Board side hip.
Here, right? Because I can come down here, and you're not going to get that deep ass wrap here. Because back into my board is covering it. So if you're faking me right here, I know the next thing that you're going to throw is high board side here. So I'm keeping this inside cut. And I don't necessarily
Making that like one way lane, right?
Yeah. And so you can't really cross over to my outside shoulder unless you're really fucking throwing over, right? So no, sorry, sword side. So you throw
Straight across being like,
right?
I'll be able to guard up.
Maybe that's here, right? The only way you can hit that shoulder is this, right? So now, my shot that would take your arm, like you fake, right? It's down here, right? I'm trying to hit the shoulder, trying to hit the arm while you're hitting the shoulder. I win, right? I fake here, right? And this is where you can
Still in a much better position.
still in a much better position. And this is where I start rotating my hand, right? They're in tandem here, right? So, in this position, right? Throw for a high cross to high cross, short side corner, right? Like that. So just throw that high cross and keep it on the board, right? So I can keep here. If you're faking here, you cover it by the right? The next thing is if they throw over and they throw guard, right? I can throw like this if you don't have a punch, right? And they're high cross on me, right?
I don't have a punch,
Yeah, I can throw like this. So as I'm tracking my stick, my hand's staying in position. You're going to throw fake high and then throw money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right? So as this is happening, you do slow speed here, right? And I've crossed out your high lane with my stick.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, you can't come across, right? And if you cross up there, right, I see you crossing to throw the stick. So I can come across here or go back. So I can see you. Throw into my hand, right? So I can trade blocks and throw here. As long as my board is cutting out your sword side, you can't also cross over to that outside here, because then I'll bring my hand back, catch here, and now I'm back in my neutral position. Right? So you're trying to get away with like it feels like 30 seconds of shenanigans, right? So you get, okay, I can hit in these angles. Once they get into this position, right, I need to defend it and then go back to guard. Because then you're like, okay, I know where I'm at here. I know my shot options from here, and I know my setups from here. And that way you can reset, internally you're resetting your own fight. So you reset the fight and you get everything back and you have that comfy space.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
But the longer you hang out in a stupid position, the more you're gonna get you're gonna shoot yourself out of your own game.
I will admit that I often end up locking myself into tying myself into a bad knot. You know.
Yeah.
And getting stuck there.
And it's figuring out you're reversing the knot as best as you can while covering it. And that's where your punch shield has to cover your arm and your sword has to cover whatever else is open. And getting it back into a position based on their hands, my brain is transferring between I'm blocking this with my board or I'm blocking this with my hand. And it changes depending on where their stick is, right? So if they're crossing and I'm already in this shitty position here, if they go over that side, I have to bring my board up to protect this arm because there's no way I'm going to be able to cut this block here. So I can catch the block on my board and then transition, pushing the board out and bringing my hand down and bringing my board down. Right? Because as I project my board out, I'm cutting off deeper angles. They have this outside option, and that's when I start bringing it back in because I know what's coming next. The tip of my bat, so if my palm is my stick, as it's coming across this way, right? It's cutting off all of these high angles. My board isn't covering here, and if they are faking me and they're trying to pull that shot out, this is when I go, okay, I'm blocking this with my board here, and they now have an extended arm.
Right, and you're basically resetting your
Exactly. Right? So I'm trying to get them out of position with my stupid shit.
Right.
And then punish them for it. Like, haha, strap user, ha 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 ha.
So as far as active interference, because I know you talked about having a baiting guard and things like that. As far as active interference to mess with your opponents, do you do sword motion at range? Do you throw actual fake shots or what?
So you don't want to throw anything fake out of range at all, because a good fighter isn't going to respect what you're doing out of range. You really need to start fucking with them, right? With guard, right? So you piss off your opponent doing this shit, right? Here, right? And they're gonna start blocking in. You can throw out this way, right? And when you're throwing out like this, they see your fucking juicy shoulder, and this is when you turn it into a real shot, right? And if they don't chase the shoulder and you start coming this way and they throw out, this is when you do rising cuts. Because you'll throw out here. As I come up here, I'm blocking this shoulder. This is my hand. So because most people are going to see this and they see shoulder. They're not going to throw for arms. So if they don't respect this, you come back and block right here, right? And this is when you can step out here and dark side them, right? So whatever you're going to do, you're tracking people, they're going to bring their arm out to this shot. Or they track with their board here. I come here, they're like, I'm going to get money here. And this is when you start rotating your body and shoulder into these positions, right? And I'm susceptible to this, but I point out here, and so shots can come up here. If you want that, I should be...
It's almost like a rising hip
Yes, yeah, rising hip scoop, right? So if I can block this here, right? They're hitting my board and maybe my leg, and I'm stabbing them in the tummy.
Right, okay.
Right? And stabs are very important in your repertoire for punch, just because a lot of people will chase stabs because stabs are over the middle, or can seem over the middle.
Right, especially people
Yes, no, but that's great. So go to guard. Something I like to do to people, right? Even if you have no, I'm not trying to pin, I'm trying to stab them like this. Because then they, aha, he has fucked up his board, his hip stab, and now you're here.
Oh.
And you have this shield like that. And the second you go, you need to be pushing your weight back, right? Because this is a super out of position movement, because all your weight's leading, right? So now
you don't land a shot, you need to get away.
Rock out, step out, right? And it's like, God, the footwork is much like how you want to move your board, which is moving in and out, right? So if I'm extended out this way, I'm extending my guard out, and then I draw back, and then I can move out again. But I like it. Yeah. Look, have fun. Go fight someone. Do you have any questions? Does the camera have any questions?
Not
How
sure.
to look so pretty, 101. Is all of this making sense?
Yes.
Does it feel like a valued class so far?
I would say so. I'm recording it because this is admittedly a lot of information to go through, and by recording it, I can at least review it. And
If it's worth anything, I've learned like 2 really valuable things so far from this class, both from you, and like that I've been able to just immediately incorporate into the sparring I've been doing. So it's working for me at least.
And so that's like punch shield. I say is it has a very high skill floor, right? So my opinion is a glass cannon with a high skill floor, but also the skill ceiling is higher in punch than strap, right? Because you have all of these cheats.
there's a lot more moving parts.
Yeah, you can get away with more stuff because you can protect actively, and it just requires. I keep harping on it, but it's controlling your opponent, funneling him down, native decision making, and then punishing him for it.
Gotcha. Alright.
I can, and if you're ever in someone if I'm fighting a Florentiner, I almost never want to cross on this side. Even with this just puts me out of position. Unless if I'm going for, I don't know if you guys know Sir Bell, he throws this shot straight up the middle. And that one feels really good because it's super, super powerful. But generally, I want to fight the lead hand, which should be, yes, exactly. Because most Florentiners are going to fight to match my hand. So they're going to fight left foot forward because I'm fighting with the right-handed sword. So I want to fight this sword. I know this sword's not really a threat from this range until they can take a step in and hit and get close enough to my shoulder. So I want to bait out on the outside, because what is every sword and border going to do against a flow fighter? They're going to stab, yes, that's the right thing. Yeah. But a lot of them are going to be like, I'm going to throw outside. Die. And what the Florentiner wants is that the top. I want them to think I'm really dumb. So I'm going to go, whoop, and like stab. I could come in with a dark side, but generally what I want to do is loop under the pin or stab and protect my shoulder. So it looks like this.
That's validating. That's like my #1 anti-flow shot. So it's nice to see somebody else be like,
do it and just keep walking backwards if it doesn't land. Keep stabbing repeatedly until they die. You can even do it the other way too. So it's like I'm gonna make inside, but if I throw outside, I don't want to throw with a six wrap. I want to throw a flat wrap. So I want to throw pump fake stab. So go into guard as if you're gonna block my stab. So here, and I just want to throw and then put my hand behind my board immediately. So efficient. Yes. So it's just like that. And also, if they're it works the same way. You can do a double fake. So I'm going whoop, 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 and really get the stab. Nice. Okay. Also, you can do the second man, where you cross your sword on this here. You go under your board with the dark side, and step off that direction. Because they're going to follow me, and they're not going to move their feet. So I'm going to go, whoop, and I can hit them in the hip or the arm. I generally don't want to hit the hip. I want to hit the wrist. Because if I'm hitting the hip, they can hit me in the shoulder. Yeah, dude. I want to hit them in the hip. I want to hit them in the wrist from here. Like right from here. And now they can't reach. Just like that. I'm just so used to fighting. My knight is Sir Eggman. He fights flow. So like if I get here on him, because he's tall and extremely fast, throws 3 shots to my 1, I'm dead. So I need to fight him from right here and make him feel like he can't approach me because I'm throwing out enough punch. If you're ever fighting against a Florentiner, your sword shouldn't be here. Always needs to be here. 100% of the time. And I don't mean just here, like sitting here. It needs to be moving enough where they can never tell that the stab is coming. So it needs to be like, stab, do that, you know. Good to get the stab, and you can really lean for it and project your guard out. Projecting my guard out, trying to hit around, like it's really hard. And they pretty much have to run into my stab. So, use this, not strap, against Florentine. It's so fucking strong. Same with anything like a pole or a down spear. I prefer this to strap, especially strap dome, because I have to unhook it from my shoulder to protect my legs. I was talking with Bo earlier. I really like with this. I know people say don't protect your legs. I'm not saying don't protect your legs. Normally you want to use your range control and not block your legs so someone isn't shoulder you.
Yeah, but with the down stick.
But with a down stick, actually with a down stick you would prefer to block with your sword. And I'll explain that in a second. But but it gives me that option against like a pull that I can really isolate it to one side. I can't do that with a strap because I'm like they're gonna hit me in the back.
Yeah, I love running pulls.
With down spear, I would actually fight sword from forward, and I would try to beat their pull away with my sword. I would try to get them to get the hip scoop, like the hip, not scoop, stab, and really make them think it's open, and get them to throw a cross on me, and then hit them right there. It works every time.
Do you like to kick it out to his left, your
Yes.
right, or do you like to go across the line?
I like to go out because I find that if I do this,
He's blocking.
I'm now doing this. If I go out, I'm almost right back into a block.
Okay.
And it's also
closer to God.
Yeah. I feel like if you're throwing the spear in, also you're kind of you're throwing them almost into blocking out a lane for you.
yeah. It's very hard. And also what they want is for me to fucking swing over here so they can dig the spear into the ground and now cross my arm. Because they're really afraid of the stab as well. So I can even fake like I'm gonna bat it away. I can be like, and then actually go for it. Because they're gonna brace for it. You know? So
Right, I'm batted it away 3-4 times, and then they all hear crazy. Then you go fake that bat, and you're like, no.
Yep. And now I've done this 3 times. You go bat it in, and they go for the cross. You hit them, and now they're not going to go for the cross. So you go like boom, and hit them on the other side.
Start working on it.
You just go boom on the other side. I just love this so much for open against like everything but enemy like massive shields. You can get away with like putting it on their equipment, but ultimately it can be a little dangerous too. Because every single time you extend, you open yourself. But yeah. With the legs in tournaments, we kind of went over earlier. We talked so well, I'm not even, they are cheap, but I'm talking about like, I'm gonna hit you in the leg. So I find that overextending your guard really exposes yourself, but it's not as much in a leg fight. So if I leg you in tournament, it's easier for me to control the pace of the fight, so you can't tell when I'm going to come in and put my foot here. And now their guard is up high. I can swing here, but the most common area that people don't realize is I can step in and put them in that fucking leg, and they can't do that. Although you did just oh, really? Realistically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in like hand, put my sword here, fake up, and then down on the leg. All I have to do is like, woo! And they're just going to be like, oh shit, they're going to hit me in the back. Like that. You can even come in with like a money shot fake setup, so it looks really, really sexy. You're kind of like swishing past the board and smacking their leg. So it's like, and because I have a punch shield, if it's a strap, I can really only do this, but I can put it on top of my head. So I can be like that. So if they try to throw above or cross, they can't hit. So, yeah, perfect. Just right over there. But, who hasn't bought me?
I haven't bought you yet.
Let's fight. On your foot? It was a good attempt. You just went way too low.
Yeah, I'm not having that.
Oh!
These have the
Good! Is that you, Brad? That's what's going on. The rubber, you're not flexing against the rubber. Good! Shouldn't get out. There you go. I like your stance switch. Just know what's different, what's different. Like, there you go. This yeah. They drive up. So I just super commit to one side. What I would suggest in this scenario, give me what I want, but not really. Yeah. So like, can you pretend you're underneath? So if I were you, I would have thrown here, come back, and then actually thrown it. Because then it's like, aha, they fell for it, and then you actually throw it. Roark, what are you doing over there?
My class is over.
Is it really?
What?
It's been an hour and 50 minutes.
Oh,
I thought you were
get
just
more with me.
dunking on them.
I was still giving them tips and shit.
That can't happen. The next class hasn't been called.
Well, if that's the case, I gotta use the restroom.